It's not only about the bragging rights, it's about representation, prowess, flexibility, and adequate information for a solution-focused initiative. We crowned a champion in the 3rd edition of the Speak and Solve initiative, SASI. It was a tough challenge, but an ultimate winner emerged. Taking the trophy, which has been in the custody of the Harare Institute of Technology, the Midlands State University held the cup for the first time, marking themselves as the team to beat in the 4th edition of the SASI debate. They fought a good fight. Will they follow in the footsteps of their predecessors and be the winners this year? Do they have what it takes to take it home yet again?
So the names of the finalists are as follows, in no particular order: the Midlands State University, and finally, the University of Zimbabwe. Congratulations to our finalists.
A quota is more or less like it's a percentage that is given or that is allocated to a certain group. And we have had quotas not only on PR. We even have quotas, like for example on the Procurement Act. We also have got 30% a quota which is being given to women, and then also we've got a quota which is a certain percentage of MPs or senators that goes to the chiefs. We've got that quota as well. So quotas do not only mean a quota because you're now in parliament. It does not translate to parliament alone. Quotas are just a provision which is set aside, a percentage which is set aside for a certain group of people which are usually marginalized. So on women's quota, we are there as MPs because we've got a provision which also allows women to then be getting into parliament. Chiefs, they're supposed to be getting into Senate, so we've got that provision. It's a quota which is actually there for also the chiefs. So a quota is just a name which shows a percentage set aside for a certain group of marginalized people. The women's quota has actually gave birth to a person like me. Today you actually have an interview with me because you see that I'm actually relevant in contributing to what is very critical, especially in national development. So when I look at the women's quota, we need to understand that we have had ministers being appointed because they've actually come out of women's quota. The women's quota, we need to understand that I know there were a lot of issues that came out when we did the Constitutional Amendment number 2. But when we looked at that provision, what was there is, do we need the extension of the women's quota or not? So we needed to be quite clear on that there was need for us. We needed the extension because we had not been given anything. There was never a time and never a space that we would say, we don't want the women's quota when we don't have anything in our hands. What we needed to understand was that it was quite critical for us to be having the women's quota. If ever we needed to then push for 50-50, then that would actually be another case. And again, we need to understand that the request there was for us to ask for the extension of women's quota, not for gender equality, not for 50-50. The issue was not on 50-50. The issue was on the extension of the women's quota, and there was never a time of our dead minds that would say, no, we don't want the women's quota. Understand something? We can't do that. There was never a time that we could do that. What was important was for us to have what is there. If you want to give us something also we're putting on our clothes. And then if it means that we need to remove those clothes, we remove the women's quota, also we've got 50-50. So for us as legislators, it was very, very important for us to be able to move for that. And again, we need to understand that the women's quota, what it does is that it is a provision which is there to set aside to say that this is what we can do for the young women. But however, what I think we needed to then be able to do, that I always hope, is when it comes to the structural issues of women's quota. I'm hoping that we can then be able to also have access to CDF. Right now, as it stands, there is no access to CDF. Of course, we are part of CDF, but when it comes to chairing, it then lessens the abilities of the women's quota. So when I look at it, we are so happy that at least the women's quota has been extended. But however, whilst we are looking at structural issues, it is important for us to then be looking at making sure that at least on women's quota, we'll be able to have, even when it comes to the women's quota, I think it's also important for us to then be having at least maybe young women also being fused in, and also older women being fused in. That is what we think is very, very important for us to be able to have an effective women's quota. And indeed, I think the extension was important, because we have got right now a lot of ministers that have come in through women's quota. If they weren't there, then that means we would not be having women getting on critical decision-making positions in the economy.
So this is what it's come down to. Two teams battling for that spot at the top. And we have the University of Zimbabwe going up against our reigning champions, the Midlands State University. First of all, can you both teams just give each other a round of applause for coming this far? Like, you've done an amazing job. Oh, did you just? All right. You know what's at stake, right? All right, we, just for the sake of our audience, this beautiful trophy here goes to the winner. Last year, it went to Midlands State University. Pressure. This year, it could go to anybody. We have two very strong teams. But not only do they get that, they also the winners will walk away with a laptop each, 14-inch laptop each, a trophy for their university, gold medals, electronic sanitizer dispenser for the university, MiFi router for the university. Second place, which is again any of the two, walks away with a tablet each for the students, electronic sanitizer dispenser for the university, MiFi router for the university, and silver medals. At this particular point, that is the important information, because those are the two teams that will walk away with one or the other of our prizes. Right. Are we ready? This is the final showdown. A game. Yes. Shall we? All right. Our motion. You're not. Come on. Are we still with this? Like. This is your last go. Can you have some excitement? All right. Our last motion for this competition is: this House regrets the female quota system in the Zimbabwean parliament. That is the correct one we have? Yes? It is sounding familiar? Yes. All right. I will read it out one more time. This House regrets the female quota system in the Zimbabwean parliament. Midlands State University, you are the opposers, and University of Zimbabwe, you are the affirmative teams. Please confirm. Okay, let's go through our modalities. Now, affirmative, University of Zimbabwe, you have 4 minutes to give us your opening speech. After your opening speech for 4 minutes, Midlands State University, you have 1.5 minutes to cross-examine your opponents. When you're done cross-examining them, you then have 4 minutes to give us your opening speech, after which your opponents, University of Zimbabwe, will cross-examine you for another 1.5 minutes. When we're done with that, we get to rebuttal stage, where we will start off with Midlands State University as the opposers. Before we hand it over to University of Zimbabwe, again, there is 4 minutes each on the clock. Once the rebuttal stage is done, we will come to our closing remarks. And closing remarks, we will start with the Midlands State University as our opposers, and we will round it off with the University of Zimbabwe as our affirmative team. This is 3 minutes. Are we clear on our time? All right. Eb, no sneaking in words after I say stop. Okay. All right. Team affirmative, are you good to go? Your clock starts now.
We need to understand that the quota system is a very controversial topic. The debate here now is not to debate the idea of quota system, but the debate is the quota is an analysis of how the quota system has been used in the Zimbabwean parliament specifically, and whether or not it has fulfilled the requirements it was supposed to fulfill. When we answer the question at the end of the day, we then realize that is there enough reason for us to regret? At what point do we regret anything? We regret something when it does not fulfill its intended purpose. And what is the purpose of the quota system as a whole? The quota system was meant, number one, to empower a generation of women, but also to empower decision-making in parliament, to make sure that women are represented in the highest decision-making body of the country. Now, we need to ask ourselves that has this particular thing has that been implemented in society? The first argumentation you're going to give is in terms of loyalty. We understand that the system of politics that we have in Zimbabwe is the way people are loyal, where people vote according to party lines. People in the alliance vote according to alliance, ZANU-PF people vote according to ZANU-PF, which is why in most decision-making processes that happen, many people tend to vote according to party lines, and not because you're a woman and not because of anything else. We think in terms of representative, the type of democracy we have, the type of politics we have in Zimbabwe, we think that does not happen in terms of how society is concerned. But also we think that when it comes to this type of thing, democracy as a principle is the people who are supposed to make decisions are the people who are supposed to be chosen and elected by the people. So therefore it violates the tenets of democracy when we say that we have a parliament, an elected body, but there are people there who are there because they are appointed. Because this is how the system works. The system works because the quotas are chosen where the representation that happens no more seats, right? And according to proportions, each party can choose the women that they want to come in. Meaning that these people are appointed specifically, and when they are appointed, you tend to have obligation and loyalty to the person who appointed you. Meaning that they can vote against things that are contradict women because the person who appointed them with a specific purpose and a specific plan in mind. We think this violates the tenets of democracy. But also what this also has done within the government is that it has created a sense of complacency. The government has felt like it's done enough when in fact it has not done enough in terms of tokenism of power. The power is token. The women in parliament who are there by representative normally do not speak on parliament, they do not participate in debates, and there's some votes where they're not even included on. We think this is not real power and this is real democracy. But also what this has then done is that it has then sidelined women in terms of the main structure of the party. When parties are now coming together to choose their MPs who are going to contest, it means that there are now less women in the contested elections because they're told that no, we can just put you in representative democracy, and more men are contesting as far as the proper seats are concerned. Meaning that number one, women are not getting a chance to participate in actual elections and interact with the voters. They're not giving women a chance to be elected in the very first place. Why? Because there's a provision of quota system. What this has created is that it created a false top where women believe that they're in parliament, but they're not being there to do this. We think it's also a problem because women are not also being given a chance to participate in the general election and a chance to interact with the voters. You're not giving a chance for voters to interact with the women who are supposed to lead us and the voters to choose them. We think this is bad. We think, if anything, if we think the quota system is bad, we think you would have rather had a quota system in an instance whereby you're saying a party, in terms of the people who are going to be elected, should have a certain number of people who contest for elections rather than guaranteed. We think we do not believe in equality of outcome, we believe equality of opportunities. If you really believe in quota system, we're saying give quota systems in terms of party selection, where each party needs to have a certain number of people who contest election. Do not give equality of outcome, give equality of opportunity. But also what we think in terms of in this type of debate is that when you look at the power of women, you give a mentality that women can only get into parliament if a man appoints them there, which is a bad mindset that we want to dissuade. We want to show our young women that, you know what, you can make it to parliament through your hard work, through your own personal determination, and through getting elected there. We think we should force our government and force the parties that are there now to allow the women to contest for seats rather than shaving them aside and say, no, this is what's going to happen at the end of the day. The solution that we need to hear is that, does this then empower women, and how best do we Okay.
You had a second. You could have had a word or two. All right, your time is up. Midlands State University, are you ready with your cross-examination? Your clock starts now.
So, Ebenezer, if we remove the parties, are women still getting equal chances of representation in parliament if we remove the parties?
Right, this is then the conversation that we should be having.
No.
How best do we have equal opportunity, not equal outcome? We have more representation in parliament when we educate our women through social initiatives to encourage women to contest freely and fairly, not equality of outcome. Yeah.
So, panel, he lied. Since that seats that are inherently for women are contested for by women, so women compete against each other for these women. So where is it that they do not interact with their voters?
The problem that that's not what happens. That's not what happens, Samantha. It happens through a system of representational democracy. But let's assume you're right for the purposes of engagement. We think that even if you say there's a field specifically just for women, you think that's still not happening because number one, the things called primary elections, all these things that happen. So even if what you're saying is true, we don't get any results or utility from that.
How are women being empowered under your side of the house?
As I mentioned earlier on, the best way to empower women to A, force them into parliament, or B, make sure that they're educated enough, social initiative to allow, number one, voters to accept women, but also to allow the generation of women that we have the motivation and encouragement to participate into the democratic process and not just force them there.
Ebenezer assumes that these women are handed a silver platter. We think that these women actually fight for their positions. Please prove where they are handed this ticket for free.
Okay, you're trying to run a parallel debate, I'm trying to engage. I'm saying let's engage both words and assume you're right. It still does not fulfill the intended purposes of the debate.
shed light.
Time. Calm down, people. Calm down. All right. Are you ready with your opening? Your clock starts now.
It's fundamental to realize the society that we operate in Zimbabwe. We think that whether you are a woman, whether vibrant or a political firebrand, we think that inherently society is patriarchal, and even if you have a good manifesto, people are not going to buy into you because you're a particular woman. We think that we ought not to regret the quota system because it has somehow failed or somehow put different women in power. We ought not to regret because we think that, one, fundamentally we have put a woman in terms of representation, and we think that we ought not to regret because political parties are doing it this way or not way. In principle today, we're talking about the fundamental principle. Does it at the end of the day give women representation? We tell you that the conservative or the conventional political system that exists in Zimbabwe will never accord a woman a chance. Therefore, they are better off getting that particular chance using a quota system, right? We think that we do not buy into Ebenezer's case saying that we think women do not have any given chance, right, in terms of participating in general elections. We tell you that a vast majority of women that participate in by-elections within their political party do not win those seats. Secondly, a vast majority of women that participate in the local elections whereby they want to be councillors do not win because people are likely going to buy into men because men hold political power, right? We think that we do not regret this particular thing because it gives women representation. Secondly, we tell you that particularly within that there's this bad mindset that comes from Ebenezer that we're going to perpetuate a thing that in society that women are going to be handed power. You ought to understand that there are seats or constituencies that are reserved for women, and women that have good or women that are good politicians are going to campaign against each other, which means that we are not generally handing down seats. It means that women that are efficient are going to be given those particular seats. Secondly, you ought to understand how particularly we do not buy into the alternative of their sides, right? If you're going to buy to this, it doesn't tell us, okay, how do women then get into parliament? Because we're talking about parliament. If you're going to say, you know what, we're going to socially empower women, even if you socially emancipate that particular woman, it's about people who are going to vote for her to get into parliament. She's never going to get voted for because people don't want to vote for women. What do? We give them that particular thing using a quota system. Secondly, you ought to understand how particularly this quota system has created visibility and representation of women, particularly in parliament. As I've characterized how the political setup in Zimbabwe looks like, right? You ought to understand why women in society that such as Joyce Mujuru and also Thokozani Cooper were women that were previously recipients of the quota systems within their political party or within their political setup. These are women that have stood up and called out ZANU-PF and moved out of their party and created political narrative from themselves. We think that this is positive change that we value in society and we should not regret. Secondly, we tell you how particularly those women such as Thokozani Cooper went back to the constituencies and empowered women. We think that it is not enough when you particularly say, you know, we're just going to socially emancipate you. We want women to be represented in parliaments so that they can impact policies, right? At a point in time when you just say, you know what, we're going to empower them in the society, it is not enough because politics is about who controls the community and who controls the society. We think that they're never going to get that because already men hold the political monopoly in society, right? We think that we ought not to regret the quota system in principle because women are in parliament, right? And also these nitty-gritties that we say, okay, Speaker, we're going to concede maybe some of those women are not efficient enough or are not good politicians. But we then value the representation that is there because it was never going to be there if we're going to use conventional means that already exist in society. Therefore, we ought not to regret the quota system, particularly in Zimbabwe, as we have told you about how the political society looks like and how the political environment looks like at the end of the day. And the alternative that we get from Ebenezer is not efficient enough in terms of making women go into power. And also they come here with lies telling us how particularly women cannot participate in general elections. Women have been participating, a lot of them have been losing, right? We think that that's why even government comes down and says we're going to reserve seats for women, we're going to reserve constituencies because we know that men already hold power. With this, have never been proud to oppose.
All right, with 3 seconds to go. Sam, did you take down all your notes? Yes. Samantha kept going. Getting high on your own supply, don't do that, Samantha. Are you ready with your cross-examination? Your clock starts now.
All right, Denzel, why do you think women do not have enough representation in parliament generally?
We tell you, my whole speech was telling you how women do not have enough.
Okay, fine. since you told us, do you think that it is better then to change the mindsets of men so that these particular voters then have the mindset that women can also do it?
That can be done outside regulating the quota system. Let us women firstly in power, then we can change mindset later.
Okay, is there no danger in the failures of one woman or the women in parliament then being branded as a women-based system, as women being terrible leaders?
Speaker, we understand systems are not fully efficient, right? But what we value in today's debate is that representation and that number of women in parliament and impacting policies.
Were not the failures of Thokozani Kupe imputed on all women generally in society at some point?
Because society is inherently problematic, right? And because the woman had acquired power. But if we're going to follow society, it means that women are never going to acquire that power. That's why we don't regret the quota system.
Do you agree that the general sentiment in a patriarchal society is that quotas are generally seen as entitlement?
Even if they are seen as entitlement, right, the alternative in society doesn't work because women cannot acquire that power. We can deal with all these issues later when women have been accorded power and change the narrative.
Okay, since you think quota systems are so great, can you show us the value that was added by women, particularly in parliament, what policies they put in place?
We tell you that in our debate that historically the impact or the participation of women in elections and politics has changed in Zimbabwe because they have seen other women in power and participating and being given this. That's the motivation that we're looking for in the sort of house.
Thanks.
Time. All right. Midlands State University, as the opposers, it is your turn to give us your rebuttal. Are you ready? Is the microphone facing you and is it on? All right, your clock starts now.
Panel, this debate is not whether about these women will be loyal to their parties or they'll be loyal to generally everyone who voted for them, right? We think that is a party issue and this is not the debate, right? Ebenezer comes here and says that these people will be loyal to their parties, therefore not serve what they're supposed to do, right? We think that is a conversation for another day. We are entirely debating about the quota system in and out of itself as a system, as a principle, and why it was put in place and the purpose it serves. Not then who we select or what they do when we select them. We think that's a conversation for another day. But in today's debate, we're debating the quota system, right? Let's make a comparative analysis, right? Let's look at before the quota system was introduced, right? When women were actually not given permanent seats or inherent seats, right? Did we even see women were unheard of in parliament, right? So we think that this significant change, this change that has made us know of women like Joyce Mujuru holding the presidium seat is great change that we ought to celebrate, and these are fruits of the quota system. She would have never made it to where she is now if it wasn't for the quota system. So this significant change is what we advocate for under our side of the house, right? We think conscientization of men can happen any other day. It's not urgent. It's still happening. Society is evolving. What is important is what their model of conscientizing men to accept women who inherently have seats in parliament can still exist within our model where we keep our quota system, right? We love the conscientization of men, but it can coexist with our model, with our quota system, right? We think these are not two things that are exclusive, right? So we need to understand why the quota system was implemented because we don't get this under their side of the house, right? We think you need to understand the principle of reparative justice, right? We are giving women this advantage because they have been for so long oppressed. They've been for so long not represented in these spaces, right? So the moment we talk of reparative justice, right, we don't care whether they're going to sit there and eat the money. We want them to represent, right? So having these good quality people is now in parliament, right? Is now a burden to the society, to the voters, to select and elect people that are efficient. But what we want is to see women so as to actually, in some sort of way, reparate all the oppression that they have been getting in the past, right? Secondly, we think what we need to note in today's debate is how it increases visibility of women. We think I've already mentioned, Denzel has mentioned how we had never heard of women contesting, or even because one, it's a patriarchal society, women are literally drowned in political spaces, right? So we think the moment the quota system was introduced, it gave them hope, it gave them motivation, it gave them incentive to actually compete and be in parliament overally, right? And we think under our side of the house, we value that. What we don't value in today's debate, right, is how then these women act after we've put them into parliament. We think that is not the conversation. They lose when they mention the party system, right? Because I asked them a question to say, if we remove the party system, are women still going to be inefficient, right? We get zero answers. They base most of their arguments on how these women will be criticized because they're going to make mistakes. I think that is a problem. Why is it that when men make mistakes in offices, it's not magnified, but only when women make these mistakes, the quota system is blamed? We think that is a problematic statement on its own and should not be a burden for the government to actually remove these quota systems, and it's not a point of regret, right? We think we regret when something is not serving its purpose, right? We think if there were no women up for these seats in parliament, then we would regret the quota system. But they're still battling. Women are still up for these seats, right? We see more participation as the years go by. So at which point do we regret the quota system as a principle, right? We don't get that analysis from the side of the house. We win because we show you that we do not regret the quota system. It just has done you good. Proud to you.
You couldn't. You had to let them out. All right. Is your rebuttal ready? Okay. Your clock starts now.
All right, Samantha's problem in this particular debate is because she thinks she's coming here to argue about quotas simply. And we tell you that this particular motion is very specific. It's specific to Zimbabwe. We can't come here and say that we're talking about quotas and then not want to talk about political parties. We understand that in Zimbabwe, people are more ZANU-PF, MDC first before they are women first, right, in this particular context. So when Ebenezer comes and then he tells you that people are going to think, oh, I'm ZANU-PF, I have to say what is best for ZANU-PF, oh, I'm MDC, I have to say what is best for MDC, then that we're not then going to be able to progress. Then that at the point where she comes and then she tells you that, no, we're debating quotas, it's not quotas in Zimbabwe. That's exactly against the whole motion that we're trying to debate today. So then they come and tell you that women are unheard of in parliament, and then they give us all of these problems that they give us. We say that they're two problems, right? Number one, the issue of patriarchy that they have raised. But number two, also that women generally do not feel motivated enough for them to be able to get into spaces of public office. Ladies, panel, I will tell you that I am part of Girls for Girls. That is a Harvard-based initiative that is focusing on changing the social consciousness of women so that they can run for public office, right? When you find that there's a group of women from Harvard who come and they tell you that the problem that we're finding in these particular societies is that women themselves feel that they cannot get into these particular spaces, then we tell you that social consciousness is the thing that we're then supposed to target and combat. We ask them a question, we tell them that, okay, let's change the social consciousness of men, who they say they are the voters, right? Let's change the social consciousness of women. When we change those particular social consciousness, women then feel, oh yes, I, Nadia Mtisi, can run for vice president in this nation of Zimbabwe. Men can also feel, yes, Nadia Mtisi can do it, and then we all go and vote. Remember, 2023 might be voting, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that there's a thing of social consciousness, and that's exactly what we're telling you, right? So we have to change the mindset of men. Finally, we tell you that most of the things that have happened in this particular nation of Zimbabwe when it comes to the rights of women have been done by civil society organizations and have been done by the judiciary. We say the case of Muturu and Tupoti, as well as the cases of Katekwe versus Muchabayo, right? In Muturu and Tupoti, we see civil society organizations coming and say that the statutory instruments or the particular provisions that we've passed are not favoring women, and therefore these things must be changed. In these particular cases, it's not women, it's not Justice Quota who gave these particular answers, right? It's actually men. These are men that are getting progressive thoughts, men that are thinking, okay, fine, we need to be able to do these things. What exactly are we showing you, panel? We're showing that your social consciousness is very important in this particular context. What exactly do we come and tell you from outside of the house? We tell you that we regret something when it is not fulfilling its intended purpose, right? We tell you that there is a democracy violation whereby someone that we didn't even vote for gets into parliament, right? We think that democracy is a very important thing in this particular debate. When we say democracy is very important, then how can we best solve this particular problem? We tell you the issue of social consciousness. Educate women to run for parliament. Educate men, therefore, to see that women are very capable of doing this. So they say that these particular things can run at the same time, right? We don't necessarily have to regret something. And then we tell you that no, quotas reinforce these particular stereotypes of handing women things on a silver platter. It reinforces that women cannot do these particular things on their own. It reinforces that even women, when they say, oh, Ango Piwa, she was just given, not that she actually deserves this. We ask them a question, what is the general sentiment about quotas in Zimbabwe particularly? We say that in Zimbabwe particularly, when you look at quotas, you're saying, or in a conservative nation, right? You're saying that women don't actually deserve these particular things. They're being given, these things are just basically being given to them. Let's create an image panel of women who are strong enough to be able to do it on their own. Let's create an image panel of women who are able to just rise up to the occasion and be able to do whatever they're supposed to do, right? Panel, we tell you about group philosophy and the problematic nature of groups. So tell you that at UZ we had a female president, right? And every single thing that she did wrong, people said, oh no, we must never vote for females, right? Because people felt like when they were voting, they were saying, instead of, is she actually good for the job? Panel, we say that it's very important for us to not reinforce these particular stereotypes by removing we remove these particular quotas, we target the sole problem or the root of the problem, which is social consciousness, change how people feel about women, change how women feel about themselves, and we're going to see many more women running for parliament. We asked them a question about Thokozani Kupe. What Thokozani Kupe does wrong? Everyone says, oh, women cannot lead in this particular context. What more quotas where people see them as things that are being handed to them on a silver platter? We think that the problem, even she said, is very problematic. We think the problem is social consciousness. Let us target that. Thank you.
It's getting hot in here. Woo! We all need a minute. All right. Opposers, you're busy whispering and writing down stuff. I hope your closing's good. This is the last shot. This is it. Are you good to go? All right, you have 3 minutes on the clock and your time starts now.
All lies that we get from Ebenezer, right? We think the one thing that we get, he says, like, he thinks that the quota system violates the tenets of democracy. You ought to understand how democracy is built on representation, and we think that women are never going to be represented in status quo of the political countries that we talk about, and that women ought to particularly have the quota system. Now, down to Nadia, right, all what she talks about is social consciousness. We think that also we create social consciousness in our side. When other women see other women in power, they think, okay, I can also do this. We think that also inside of house, we also think that inside of house, because of the social consciousness, you ought not to regret the quota system. What you ought to understand, Speaker, in Zimbabwean politics, it is not enough, particularly as a woman, to be firebrand or to be a good politician, because you ought to understand that a number of large voters, for example, Emerson Mnangagwa won on a magnitude from rural areas. These are conservative areas. Therefore, you think that even if you come and run as a president, these are conservative people that will never buy into your struggle. You ought particularly how then do women get into power, and how then do women get into power and get into those seats is through the quota system. Therefore, we ought not to regret it, particularly in today's debate, right? And also, what we particularly get in today's debate, the alternative is saying, you know what, just educate women and say, educate women and empower them about how parliament operates and blah, 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 and the economics. We think that we have told you it is not enough. Already the power dynamics in terms of political players, it's skewed to men, and women are not going to get into power. Okay, it's fine also in the side of house. We also can get women into power and not to get the quota system and still create the social consciousness that they value into this debate. It also exists in our side of the house. Secondly, what particularly do you particularly get from our side of house, which is very important to this debate? We characterize to you how the political world looks like in Zimbabwe, and we tell you how particularly women how particularly the social consciousness or how view women has consistently changed over time, because we have seen women being appreciated into power, and also we've seen women being put into positions of power, and we've seen women particularly taking power for themselves, women such as Joyce Mujuru and Thokozani Kupe, and changing the narrative. We tell you that the principle that rests particularly with the quota system in Zimbabwe is reparative justice. We think that men ought to pay back women, because men consistently have monopolized these political systems, have not given women power. It's high, and we stand no ground particularly to regret this. We think that the nitty-gritty that comes into, okay, who do we pick or who do we take from where is not really important, and neither is not really important to this debate. That's not the chart. The chart ought to, in principle, do we regret particularly the quota system? We think that if it gives representation, it gives reparative to justice on these principles, and also as we have told you how it rolls out in terms of leveling out the playing field, and also how it creates social consciousness among women that see other women in power, we ought not to regret it. Never been proud to oppose.
All right. 2 seconds to spare. You sure? Like it's 2 seconds to your final shot? Like, okay, all right, cool. Eb, Nadia, this is your final push. You got this? All right, your clock, it starts now.
We were given 2 weeks to prepare these motions, and after 2 weeks, you find that they failed to find one single example where women in parliament, the quota system, did anything to benefit women. They've existed in parliament for the past 2 election cycles, and no tangible policy on the ground that they could even think of after all their research to do so. It speaks volumes. A problematic marriage bill was passed in parliament. What did women who were there under proportional representation, what did they do? Nothing. They just voted according to party lines. We think it's problematic when you have people who are supposed to do something specific and they don't do it. We think it's problematic and bad. Samantha says that we should adjudicate the debate on the principle of quota systems. I'm saying no. We're not debating principle of quota system. We're debating the specific quota system in the Parliament of Zimbabwe and whether or not it has been effective. If we can agree that it's been effective, if it has been effective, I have no problem giving them the debate. But they fail to tell us how they've been effective. They've been talking in terms of principle. They've been saying, oh my God, it shows this. Yes, it gives them power. But being in Parliament is not power. Being given a seat in Parliament is not power. Power is the ability to stand and be heard. Power is the ability to motivate action. Have the women who have been put under proportional representation in Parliament, have they made any significant change? If the answer is yes, then no. You are celebrating, but you failed to give a single example. Now, we're also talking about in terms of what else we do in terms of this debate. They talk about Joyce Mjuru and Thokozani Kube. They say Joyce Mjuru was a product of quotas. It's a lie. Joyce Mjuru was a person who participated in the liberation struggle, and as a result, earned her right to become where she was. She was never put as a quota. She earned her place to get there, which is why they're talking about her. Thokozani Kube, the same thing. She was not a result of the quota system. She existed before the quota system was implemented in the year 2013. Joyce Mjuru and Thokozani Kube were in politics long before. It's ironical that the only example they could find of women are women who were there because of their own hard work. They failed to find one example of a woman who's the quota system. Speaks volume in terms of the debate. But also, what perceptions do we perceive? Under our side of the house, we tell you that the perception that you perceive now is that you create a complacency in government. Government feels like they've done enough and then they sit on their laurels. You think just because you declare something does not make it happen. Just because you declare that US dollar and bond are 1-to-1 does not make it true. We think that a lot needs to be done. Real power is not in sitting in Parliament. Real power is not having a card written MP. Real power is the ability to change mindsets. Real power is the ability to implement change. It does not exist under the quota system. We think no. Also, we need to understand that in terms of they say you can do both. You can't do both. You can't say we'll continue educating our women to get into Parliament when you already think that we have women in Parliament. You think you can't do both. You can't say that, oh my God, we can do both and say we're going to continue educating women. What's the need to educate women at the end of the day when you already think and feel you've got women 50-50 in Parliament? We think you don't solve problems. We're better off saying that we're not having any women in Parliament by proportional system, and then we start from there, we start solving the problem, the real problem. We do not want false solutions, that is what they're talking about. We do not want token power. We do not complacency. We want real power and real change. Thank you.
Whew. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. The final debate, the final arguments. Our adjudicators have a really big task ahead of them to pick who takes the trophy home. Will the Midlands State University retain their trophy, or will it go to the University of Zimbabwe? We have a few minutes to breathe, to catch up, and soon we'll know the answer to that exact question. Remember, the hashtags are hashtag SASI for Hope, hashtag SASI Debate 2021. Who do you think, based on this round, deserves to take that trophy home? The fourth edition of the SASI Speak and Solve Initiative Debate Competitions 2021, and we are almost at the end. I hope you're as excited as I am to find out who the ultimate debate champion is and who gets to walk away with all these goodies. Goodies. Really looking good. All right, so before we get to this, it hasn't been a simple process. We've had a group of adjudicators who have been meticulously tabulating the evidence that has led us to where we are now. And I would like for them to just come up so we can acknowledge them real quick. Adjudicators, please, can we see you? Just so that you know it's real. And just... yes, just stand where you can fit. These are our adjudicators, ladies and gentlemen. It hasn't been an easy task for them, but I believe they deserve to take a bow. Please go ahead and say, hey, just bow. It's okay, you can bow. You can bow. Your job is done. All right, thank you so much for your hard work today and yesterday. You may return to your seats. All right, so we're all curious to know who takes home number 1, number 2, and number 3 slots, but also who is our best female debater, who is our best female rebuttal speech. We're curious to get into all that, but before we do, because we can't just tell you everything, I'm joking. Please can Lynette Lynette Roche and Respect from Say What. Please just come up and help me so that we can give the prizes to the appropriate people. All right, so Lynette and Respect are now here to assist me in handing over the prizes to our winners. All right, and starting off, we have Best Rebuttal Speech Male. And the winner is Nelson Banda from Manicaland State University. Nelson, please come and get your gift. Nelson, walk like you are happy. There's no handshake, so it was, responsible people. All right, congratulations, Nelson. Best Rebuttal Speech Female, Stachisiwe Gwaza from Lupane State University. Congratulations. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Okay, moving on with the next one. Best Debater Male. We have Tadiwa Daka from Gwanda State University. Tadiwa. The one who was running away from girls in grade 5. Congratulations to you. You are walking away with a laptop and a medal. Congratulations to you. I kind of miss people being around, that noise and applause or what. Should be, for effect. All right, Best Debater Female, we have Marianne Nazombe from NAST. Marianne, congratulations. Congratulations. And we are definitely, there was no vote to give. Yeah, good. Congratulations, you also walk away with a laptop and a medal. All right, now it's down to the majors. The university in third position, ladies and gentlemen, is the Chinhoyi University of Technology. Chinhoyi University of Technology. Can our two participants come up and receive their award and clap hands for yourselves? Well done. They are walking away with a cell phone each, electronic sanitizer dispenser for their university. These are the dispensers. Wi-Fi router for the university. All right, that's what they are walking away with today, as well as medals. And may the dean come and just pose with them for a picture. The dean can handle the dispenser. So that is third place, Chinhoyi University of Technology. Congratulations to them. They are the third place winners for 2021. Dean, you also get yourself a power bank and a power bank for each of your students. In second position, in second position we have none other than the Midlands State University. Congratulations to you. You are second place winners, and you walk away with a tablet for each of you, electronic sanitizer for the sanitizer dispenser for the university, Wi-Fi router for your university, silver medals, and of course power banks for both of you as well as for your dean. If your dean could please come up and be represented with you. Congratulations. Give yourselves a round of applause. Samantha, don't be jealous of yourself. Can you give yourself a round of applause? Well done, Samantha. Well done, Denzel. Very spirited debaters. Very talented. Well done. This also, however, means that the trophy, which has been with the Midlands State University for a year, has relocated. It has found itself a new home. And really, the new home has no need for pomp and fare because it is now very clear who our winners are for the SASI debate competitions 2021, wherever it is that you are, whoever it is you are supporting. I hope you are cheering and clapping hands right now for the University of Zimbabwe. Nadia and Ebenezer, please come up. Congratulations to you two. You are the winners for this year. You gave an amazing performance. And I hope you're proud of yourselves. Can you clap hands for yourselves? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't see no dancing. I don't see no hopping around. Where's your dean? Dean, please come up as well. You? All right, the dean is absent, so these will be taken in absentia. So they walk away with laptop for Ebenezer, laptop for Nadia. The trophy, of course, for the university, gold medals, electronic sanitizer dispenser for the university, MiFi router for the university. They both get power banks, and so does their dean. Congratulations, team. Yeah, their hands are full, guys. Their hands are full, guys. Please make sure your snaps are taken with the trophy. Congratulations once again. That is, of course, we have it. Our final call out for the winners. And they are the ultimate debate champions for 2021. And whew, yeah, they deserved it. They did. Nadia and her fast speaking, Ebenezer and his sleeves. There was no other outcome. All right. So now that we have come to that bit of a conclusion, Lynette, please just come over and give us our vote of thanks.
Suddenly the whole room just became so serious, and I'm not sure, are you not happy with the winners or what? Okay, fine. So my name is Lynette Kuzai Zoushe, and I'm serving as the National Coordinating Chairperson for Say What. And I'm currently doing my master's program at the University of Zimbabwe. And I'm really, really, really happy, you know, coming from the University of Zimbabwe, at the same time you are the ones who take the trophy home. Guys, I'm so proud of you. You have made me proud as your National Coordinating Chairperson. However, I would like to take this wonderful opportunity to give the vote of thanks to the people who have managed to make this SASI Debate 2021 a success. To begin with, I would like to start by giving thanks to the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. As you all know, 2020, 2019, we used to host our debate somewhere else, but now we now have our own Say What studio, where we have, for the first time, hosted our own Say What debate in the studio. So I would really like to thank the Swedish Embassy for giving us this wonderful opportunity, and also for creating the space that so that we as the young people can showcase our talents as what we have already seen happening in the house. Furthermore, I would also like to thank them for their support in making this debate a success. Also, I'd like to extend my appreciation to the National AIDS Council for their support and enabling us to make this event a realization. And also, I would like to thank Econet for their support as well. Above all, I would like to appreciate the students here present for making it to the 2021 SASI debate competition and for sacrificing their time to prepare for the debate and sharing information that they have on sexual and reproductive health issues and also public health issues. We do appreciate you, our student. Also, I'd like to thank the 10 State University here present, University of Zimbabwe, the winners, Bindura State University, Lupane, NAST, Midlands State, Great Zimbabwe, Gwanda, Chinoi, Africa University, and Harare Institute of Technology for supporting students to take part in this great initiative. We do appreciate you. Even the deans here present, we also appreciate you so much. I would like to thank also the adjudicators for making sure that the competing universities' response were correctly evaluated and scored with fairness and honest. We do appreciate the hard work that they have shown today. I would also like to extend my vote of thanks to Say What organization at large for giving us, the young people, this wonderful opportunity for us to express ourselves through such platform as the debate, and also for giving us, the young people, an opportunity to showcase our talent, above all, the exposure itself. Also, I would like to extend my appreciation to the Say What Secretariat. As you all know, we are here today, but there's been a lot of groundwork that was happening behind our backs before we even reached to this day. It was the Secretariat and the volunteers who were responsible for this amazing work. I would like to thank them for that amazing work that they have been doing, and I would also applaud them for that. Above all, I would like to thank the Say What board and the management for showing leadership in leading the sexual and reproductive health programming for the students and the young people. Also, I would like to thank the ZTN and the Say What team production crew for putting together all the pieces of competition and broadcasting it to the world, so that everyone can have information on the issues that were being debated today. Keep the standards high, team. Above all, I would like to thank the viewers of the 2021 SASI debate competition for following through all the stages of the competition till the final stage. In conclusion, inasmuch as we as the students have exhibited great knowledge through this debate, it should not end here. We should be in a position to put this into practice. We should be in a position to implement what we're debating on. Lastly, I would like to say, COVID is real. Let's mask up, sanitize, and practice social distancing. I thank you.
Well, my name is Midlands Badambi. I'm the Dean of Students at the University of Zimbabwe. Well, we are ecstatic. We are really excited to, have won the big one. As they say, each dog has got its own day, and we are very glad to be the big dog in 2021. We're very excited, and I'm very proud of my students for having won this, big championship. Truly appreciate it. As a dean, I always want to position my students for success. Our desire is that they go out and they conquer. One of the messages that I always tell my students, and things that I want them to really stick at the back of their minds, is that, I always say to them, at UZ, we don't breed chickens, we don't breed ducks, we breed eagles. And eagles soar, even in storms. Eagles conquer storms. Eagles have vision. Eagles have got tenacity and precision. That's the kind of students that we breed. We don't do puppies, or we don't do cats and dogs. We do lions. That's what we breed. So yeah, when students go out and they participate and they conquer the world and they bring accolades, that's the user that we want. That's the user that we desire. So we're very happy. The role of Say What. If only we could have, say, about 5 organizations that are like say what, I'm sure our institutions will be totally different. And our young adults will be, transformed in a huge way. Say what, they have a very clear vision, they have a clear mission, they have a clear mandate, they've got clear goals, and they have a clear strategy. And, when they get into our institutions, they don't come to impose, they come as a partner, and they really don't, come with that push that says, we want to come as an equal partner. They come from that place of humility and magnanimity and, present themselves as, one of the players that can make a difference if given space. So yeah, in our interactions with Say What, they've got an amazing program that empowers our students. It's not just for female students, but it's also male students on comprehensive sexual reproductive health, and also just going beyond that, getting students to appreciate who they are, issues of self-discovery, self-knowledge, self-efficacy, self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-actualization. Those are some of the things that are really at the core of student development and support in our institution. So we are very excited, we are very happy with Say What, and we can only hope that they continue to do what they're doing, and we also hope that they continue to get funding from different funding authorities or organizations, so that the programs really get entrenched into our institutions. There's so much that we can do, and what's important is really impact, but that impact can be limited by resources. So we call upon organizations that support institutions like Say What to bring more support, because there's so much that needs to be done in our institutions of higher learning. Our students are struggling, and they need a hand, like the hand that Say What is actually providing in the institution at the moment.
Hi guys, my name is Giselle. Hi guys, my name is Maya. Child abuse must come to a stop. If you have been abused, call the Say What call center number 577 if in case of abuse.